I'm a fitness coach, and today we are going to be covering the muscles that you should be building if you want to get an aesthetic physique. Before we begin, my website is going to be linked in the description if you are looking to build muscle or lose fat. If you have any goals in terms of trying to progress your overall fitness, scroll down on my website here and click sign up. This will get you signed up for a 30-minute free consultation call where we will talk about your goals and what type of workout or training program, what type of nutrition plan is going to be best for you. And then I will custom build it to help you reach your goals. We would do weekly check-ins. That way I can make sure that you're hitting your goals and I can change the program to make sure it's fitting your needs. And then I will also do daily check-ins with you to make sure that we're hitting the marks that we're trying to in order to progress as fast as possible in the most science-based way possible. So if that sounds good to you, go to my website, scroll down, click sign up right here, and let's get after it. Starting off here, I have the main muscle groups listed. However, I am going to break them down a little bit more specifically into the regions of these specific areas. So for back, I would do upper and lower back. For shoulders, I'm going to do with all three heads of the shoulders. Reason being, I think it's important to differentiate them a little bit and maybe give you some ideas as to which muscles that you want to train specifically. First and foremost here, we're going to start off with chest. I think that chest is going to be A tier. I think it's important to train if you're trying to get an aesthetic physique. Now, obviously, when I say aesthetic, this is going to be completely opinion based on how you want to look. If you want to look like an Olympic cyclist and have the biggest legs possible and nothing else, that's perfectly fine. If that's what you're looking for, go for it.
Brother,
But in my opinion, I think that chest is going to be A tier. It's going to be below a couple of these other ones that are going to be listed, but I think that it's A tier. Chest, if you're trying to get a big chest, you're going to want to train horizontal adduction and then also elbow flexion. Those are going to be the two movements that you're going to want to perform. Something like a chest fly is going to be beneficial for the overall growth of the chest. And then trying to get that upper shelf or that upper head of the chest, what you would want to do is any pressing or fly movement that's going to be in an incline plane. So there's going to be a little bit of a increase instead of just flat with your body. For that one, I really like to do just an incline chest press movement with my arms slightly closer together. That way I'm getting more elbow flexion instead of super, super wide out where I can't get as much elbow flexion. Those are going to be the movements that I would do in order to try and grow my chest, which I'm trying to do. It's not a super big strong point for me. Next up here is legs. I think personally that legs are super aesthetic. However, they're going D tier. My reasoning for this is because if you look at TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, if you're looking at these aesthetic guys, they can just throw on sweatpants. You wear pants all day, it doesn't matter. You could have the most diced abs, you could have huge arms, whatever else, big chest, and just cover your legs, and it doesn't matter. Also, there's a complete category based around not needing to have big legs, which is men's physique. Those guys on stage, they look amazing, but they're wearing long trunks, so you can't really see their legs. So it does not matter if you're not super gifted in the leg department or if you don't like training legs, just wear pants and then you can be super aesthetic and never have to show them. All right, next up here, we're going to go over back. I think back is going to be C tier. Now, hear me out. This is going to be broken up a little bit differently in terms of why I believe this. So if we're talking upper back, I think that if you're wearing a t-shirt or something, it's a little cool to have the trap development here. The upper back thickness, maybe if you're wearing a t-shirt again, like I said, or a tank top, but at the same time, you can't see your back very often. And, you know, how often have you heard someone say like, oh my God, that guy's got a huge back, that's super cool.
don't count on it. Oh.
Comparative to like, geez, that guy has big arms or like nice abs. That's what you're going to hear more often than not. So as much as I can appreciate Dorian and his back here, it's something that if you're looking for just aesthetics and nothing else, not a well-rounded physique, not a super big deal. Now, lats is a little bit different. I think that lats a little bit, or matter a little bit more. Reason being, you're going to be able to see them from the front. So if you're looking at these two physiques here, this one's going to have that sweep with the lat coming down to the sides. And then same here, that lat development is going to bring in a little bit more of that X frame or that wideness up top and make your waist perceived a little bit smaller. So if you struggle with having a wider waist, if you develop your lats a lot, that can not only add to that wideness, but also make your waist seem a little bit smaller. So if I were to break these into two, I would say that lats are going to be B tier, but the upper back's going to be C tier. So we're going to keep it in C tier, but just a little bit of a caveat. Now, shoulders, I think that shoulders are important. They're less important than chest though. I think that Developed shoulders are going to help those capped delts look and make you look a lot wider up top. So your shoulders are going to be broader, and that definitely adds a lot. But there are a lot of people, especially in like the golden era, that don't have super big shoulders, but they have big arms, which we're going to talk about next, and they still look amazing. So you don't need the biggest shoulders to look crazy. I think Kevin Levrone has crazy shoulders. I think he looks great. But at the same time, if you're looking for an aesthetic physique, I don't think it's necessary. But I will say, though, if you're looking for a well-rounded physique, do not neglect the side delt, but also the rear delt. You can see the rear delt is getting this sweep here on the backside. And so if you're in a front pose like this, like he's doing here, and your shoulders are tilted forward like this, you can see the rear delt development there. Whereas just the side delt, if you didn't have as big of rear delts and it cut off, it would make the shoulder look a lot smaller because you're only getting 2/3 of this big old bowling ball instead of the full aspect. So if you are trying to train your shoulders, I would really emphasize the lateral and rear delts because of the fact that that's going to help with this. Movements that you can do for those would be something like a face pull for the rear delts if you wanted to, or a rear delt fly. And then for the lateral raises or shoulder press are going to be great. Now the last two here for arms, I think that this is going to go A tier as well. It might be S tier in all honesty. No, it's going to be A tier. Okay, you'll see why. But A tier, I think that arms are just as important as chest.
Are you sure?
If you have one big and one small, it's going to look a little weird. If you have the other way around, one big and one small, it's also going to look weird. So a guy with a small chest and huge arms, it's going to look a little awkward. And then a guy with a huge arms and no chest, it's going to look a little awkward too. So these kind of go hand in hand, a little bit of a bread and butter aspect. And if you're doing a front pose like this, having biceps is great. You want to have peak biceps, but at the same time, your tricep is super important. So don't think that just because you're doing a front pose doesn't mean that your triceps matter. This bottom arch here, this bottom sweep is going to make your bicep perceived larger because from that front, you're getting that bottom half of it. And so having that bottom part here is really going to help emphasize the bicep instead of it just being, like cut off essentially. I do think that for triceps, an overhead tricep extension is going to be one of the best movements that you can do. And then for biceps, something like a preacher curl and then a hammer curl for the short and long head are going to be great. One thing to note here with arms as well, a little underrated, is forearms. As you can see, huge forearms here are going to help to make the arms look perceptibly bigger and a little bit more balanced. Whereas if this guy had small forearms, it wouldn't really match as well. And so if you can train forearms, or if you have naturally big forearms, that's great for you, but it's not a necessity. I'm not going to say that you have to for an aesthetic physique, but it can help. So that's why these two are going to kind of go hand in hand. That's why they're both going to be A tier. Last, but certainly not least, if you want to look crazy good, you have to have abs. Now, don't get this misconstrued. There are people that don't have abs that look amazing. I'm not saying that you have to have them to look good, but for the confines of looking aesthetic, you could be small in about all of these categories, but you could still look crazy if you have really defined abs.
Around, every now and then I get a little bit terrified, and then I see the look in your eyes. Turn around, bite eyes. Every now and then I fall apart. And I need you now tonight. And I need you more than ever.
That's kind of just how it works. That's how the human eye is drawn to things. People see abs and they perceive them as being in shape. So even if you're mid in chest, mid in arms, mid in shoulders, back and legs, if you're lean enough that you have abs, you're set. If you have genetics so that you hold a little bit more weight in your chest than maybe arms, and then your abs, you don't hold as much fat, so you can be a higher body fat percentage and still have abs, you're crazy lucky, because having abs is going to make you look the most aesthetic. So while being a low body fat percentage does matter in order to see your abs, there is also something to be said about growing your abs themselves and getting more development. So like for me personally, I'm slightly higher body fat percentage than the last time that I was relatively this lean or that I was trying to do a cut. However, I have an ab vein coming in right now because of the fact that I've been training abs compared to last time where I wasn't training abs. So building up that thickness in your abs through training, making them more developed, can help to see them at a higher body fat percentage and make them look better, but also get ab veins, cool stuff like that. So I think that training your abs is important. Something like a cable crunch where you're holding a rope and then you're crunching down is going to be a good thing that you can do. Or if you have a machine where you hold onto the handles and then you crunch forward, essentially any version of a weighted crunch is going to be the best for you. One note with this is training your obliques is probably something that I would not recommend if you're looking for just purely aesthetics, due to the fact that training your obliques is going to make you look wider in your waist, which is going to take away from what I was talking about earlier about this X frame, getting that wide lat and then shrinking down at the waist. If you build that oblique right there on the side, that's going to take away from that X frame. And so that's going to be my opinion as to maybe why you shouldn't train obliques. But again, really, all of this is with a grain of salt. I think that you should work with the genetics that you have. I think that anyone can look great given that they train hard and they train consistently. I think that you should look for someone who has relatively the same genetics as you and emulate that. However, don't think that just because you don't have a body part grown when you start doesn't mean you can't grow it. For me personally, again, my chest has been a weak point for me since I was younger. Just genetically, I didn't really have a great connection with my chest, didn't really have a big chest. I've been working on growing it, and I have seen results with proper training and really pushing myself to try and grow that area of my body with higher frequency and higher intensity. So just because it's not there now doesn't mean it can't happen. Again, if you want help with building up any lagging muscle groups, if you want help losing weight to get abs, message me, contact me. We can have a consultation call. We can go over things. You can get a training plan or nutrition plan, or I can work with you one-on-one monthly in order to help you get the results that you're looking for. But yeah, that's going to be what I'm covering today, guys. If you have any questions or comments about anything that I've listed here today in terms of trying to build an aesthetic physique, let me know. If you have any opinions on what I said in terms of you don't think that something is S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, if you think that legs should be S tier, which I mean, Tom Platz has crazy legs, maybe so. But yeah, if you have any questions about that, comments, let me know. Otherwise, subscribe so you don't miss the videos that I'm posting. I'm trying to post more consistently on YouTube. Like this video so that way I know that it's something that you like. Comment any questions that you have. But yeah, peace out. Have a good one.